few minutes this morning, I want to talk about a rosebud, specifically this rosebud. And I want us to see it differently, probably, than we ever have before. And through this rosebud, we're going to learn new things about ourselves. More than any other flower, the rose has long been a source of inspiration. It has captivated many cultures around the world. Poets and writers have been inspired by its sheer beauty and its fragrance. I remember when I was growing up, my mother in the backyard had a flower bed filled with rose bushes. And every spring I used to stand there totally amazed and watch the rosebuds, waiting for them to open. And I always wondered, how did it know when to open? How did it know which petal to open next? I'd be so amazed because I would watch it waiting for it to bloom, but somehow it always happened when my back was turned. This rosebud goes through what I call a physical unfoldment. It's when it responds to that perfect plan that God placed inside of it. And it responds by moving its petals in accordance to that plan. But you know, we also go through an unfoldment. But our unfoldment is spiritual. God places that perfect plan within us for our own spiritual unfoldment. And every day, we unfold in response and express that perfect plan. We continue to unfold as we grow in our conscious knowledge of ourselves as spiritual beings. And as the infinite presence reveals more and more of the truth to us, we embrace that truth and we put it in our lives. And we begin to unfold and become who we already are. I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a young preacher. And he was going through a difficult time in his ministry. He was confused. He wasn't sure what he was going to do. He knew God was leading him in a certain direction, but that plan gave him fear, and he was afraid. So he went to a friend, an older, more experienced preacher, and began to tell him how he felt. And they were in the backyard walking through a garden, and the older, more experienced preacher walked over to a rosebud, and he picked it. And he handed it to his young friend. He says, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take this rosebud, and I want you to open it. I want you to pull back the petals in the precise sequence they need to be. I want you to take this and open up this rosebud. The young preacher could not understand what he was being asked. He could not understand what did this have to do with his confusion in following God's plan for his life. And I want to stop there in my story. And I'd like to ask one of you to come up, and I want you to take one of these rosebuds and I want you to open them into full bloom. Now, the only problem is I want you to do the same thing the elderly preacher said. Open the rosebud, but do not bruise, do not tear, or do not detach a single petal. And I'll ask you to do the same thing. I want you to take this rosebud and I want you to open it, but do not bruise, do not tear, or detach a single petal. Who would like to try? No one wants to try? It's really a simple request. You cannot bruise or tear or detach a single petal. Can anyone do that? Do you want to try? Just open it up into full bloom, so all you have to do. Do not bruise, do not tear, or detach a single petal. It has to be in full bloom. You have to pull all the petals back until they're in full bloom. One tore. Actually, you will find it absolutely possible to do. But the thing about it is, most people would never try. Because most of us would know to do that, you would bruise, or you would tear, or you would detach a petal.